Listen closely. We live in a world where people are constantly trying to prove something. They prove they're right, they prove they're good, they prove they're misunderstood. They explain, they over-explain, they justify, they beg, not always with words, but with energy. And they call that honesty. They call that courage. But the Stoic sees it for what it really is: weakness disguised as vulnerability. A Stoic does not beg to be seen. A Stoic does not chase validation. A Stoic does not explain himself to people who already decided who he is. Because the Stoic understands a truth most people never accept. The moment you start explaining yourself to the wrong person, you hand them control over your peace. Think about it. Someone ignores you, and your instinct is to speak louder. Someone misunderstands you, and your instinct is to clarify. Someone disrespects you, and your instinct is to demand answers. But ask yourself honestly, has that ever restored your dignity? Or did it leave you exposed, drained, and smaller than before? You call them, they don't pick up, so you call again. You send a message, no response, so you send another, longer, more emotional, more revealing. You pour your heart into paragraphs, hoping this time they'll finally see your worth. But here's the truth no one wants to face. The more you explain, the less you are respected. The more you beg, the less you are valued. The more you chase, the faster they run. That's not bad luck. That's human nature. And the Stoics mastered this long before social media, long before modern psychology, long before anyone told you to communicate your feelings. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire while fighting wars, betrayal, and plague, and still reminded himself that other people's opinions were none of his business. Epictetus was born a slave, yet understood freedom better than most kings. They didn't stay silent because they didn't care. They stayed silent because they understood this: the more you value things outside your control, the less control you have. And nothing pulls you further outside your control than chasing someone's understanding. Because the moment you chase attention, you say, "My peace depends on how you respond." That's not peace. That's a prison. Real strength looks very different. Real strength is when someone disrespects you and you don't react. Not because you're afraid, not because you're passive, but because your dignity does not scream. It does not chase. It does not explain itself. It detaches. And this kind of silence, it terrifies people. Because when you stop reacting, they lose the power they thought they had over you. Most people don't know how to handle silence. Noise is familiar, drama is predictable, reactions are easy to manipulate. But silence? Silence forces reflection. When you go quiet instead of arguing, you don't lose control, you reclaim it. Because silence does something words never can. It makes people feel your absence, not just hear your words. You've felt this before. The moment you stop explaining yourself, the moment you stop chasing, the moment you stop reaching out, suddenly people start thinking. That's the paradox of silence. It doesn't push, it pulls. People replay conversations in their head. They wonder what changed. They question their position. Because noise can be ignored. Absence cannot. Most people, when they're hurt or rejected, rush to fix the feeling. They confront, they vent, they seek validation. They try to heal through conversation, even when the conversation is the person who caused the wound. But the Stoic does something radically different. He withdraws. Not emotionally, not bitterly, but intentionally. Because he understands something brutal and freeing. You don't gain clarity by talking to confused people. You don't gain respect by explaining yourself to those who never intended to give it. And you don't heal by reopening wounds for people who already walked away. Marcus Aurelius said that if you are distressed by something external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your judgment of it. And silence is where judgment dissolves. When you truly go silent, not scrolling, not distracting, not numbing, the noise fades. And in that quiet, the truth gets loud. You hear things you avoided before. They never really respected me. I stayed longer than I should have. I'm angry because they left. I'm angry because I ignored the signs. These truths don't arrive in text messages. They don't show up in closure conversations. They surface in stillness. Silence separates emotion from identity. Your emotions scream, chase them, explain yourself, fix this now. But your values whisper, protect your peace, keep your dignity, let go. This is why Stoics didn't react quickly. They didn't speak impulsively. They paused. Modern culture tells you to speak your mind immediately, to say everything you feel, to never let anything slide. But Stoicism teaches something far more dangerous and effective. Not every reaction deserves your energy. The calmer you become, the more people reveal themselves. You don't need to ask if they care. Their actions answer for them. You don't need to beg for clarity. Silence exposes the truth. And that's when another uncomfortable realization hits. Begging for closure is often a form of self-betrayal. We romanticize closure. We tell ourselves we just need one last conversation. But if someone truly cared, you wouldn't have to beg for it. And if they don't give it willingly, your silence is the closure. When you chase answers from someone who already chose distance, you hand them authority over your healing. Stoics refused to do that. They understood that closure is not something others give you. It's something you claim the moment you stop chasing what refuses to meet you halfway. You don't need them to explain why they hurt you. Their behavior already did. You don't need a goodbye from someone who vanished. Your silence is the goodbye. You don't need to prove your pain is real. You lived it. Words can lie. Patterns don't. When you go silent, masks fall. People can say the right things, promise change, apologize beautifully, but silence removes distraction. You watch instead of argue. And what you see is everything you need. The one who values you will feel your absence. The one who used you will disappear. The one who manipulated you will grow uncomfortable, even angry. Not because you did something wrong, but because you stopped feeding the dynamic. Silence doesn't accuse, it exposes. And this is where many people misunderstand Stoicism. They think silence is cold, detached, heartless. It's not. It's disciplined. It's emotional maturity. It's choosing not to bleed in front of people who caused the wound. It's understanding that not everyone deserves access to your inner world. Not explaining yourself is not arrogance. It's confidence without noise. Because when you know who you are, you don't chase understanding. You don't waste energy convincing people who already decided. You don't argue with misinterpretations. You let time, consistency, and absence do the talking. Yes, people will call you cold. They'll say you changed. They'll say you're distant. But losing people who only knew the version of you that overgave is not a loss. It's alignment. There's a unique kind of power in walking away quietly. No announcement, no drama, no final speech, just detachment. And that detachment teaches a lesson words never could. People expect reactions. They expect explanations. They expect you to fight to stay. When you don't, they're left alone with their thoughts, with their guilt, with their memory of you, with the echo of your absence. Seneca warned that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and silence forces imagination to work. You don't have to say, I'm done. You can simply be done. And that's the moment you win yourself back. Because every time you choose not to react, you build inner peace. Every time you don't explain, you build self-respect. Every time you walk away quietly, you build unshakable strength. Not loud strength, not performative strength, but grounded strength. The kind that doesn't need applause. So if you feel the urge to explain yourself right now, pause. Ask yourself, am I speaking from clarity or from fear of being misunderstood? Because real power doesn't argue. It stands still. And in the end, remember this. Silence is not weakness. It is control. It is discipline. It's self-respect made visible through absence. Let your silence be your final word. Not out of ego, not out of spite, but because you finally understand your worth.